This day in sports history. It's September 12th, and on this day throughout the sports history timeline, we had the sun playing a pivotal role in a dramatic comeback. An NFL quarterback pulled off something that sounds, on the surface, impossible. And Magic Johnson made a memorable debut. All that plus a mind-blowing non-sports fun fact about a horror movie scene. Stay with me until the end, and I guarantee you will win free beer at your next pub trivia night. Let's start with what happened on this day in 1929, when the Philadelphia Athletics pulled off a tremendous comeback, thanks, in part, to Ra the Sun God. This was Game 4 of the World Series between the Chicago Cubs and the Athletics. Philly had a 2-1 lead in the series, and they were playing at home in Shibe Park, a place where they'd been nearly unbeatable that season, posting the best home record in all of Major League Baseball. But here in Game 4, they trailed. The Cubs had built an 8-0 lead heading into the bottom of the 7th, and with the reliable Charlie Root on the mound, it looked like the Cubs were going to cruise to the win, which would even up the series at 2 games apiece. And with the series heading back to Chicago for the final 2 games, the Cubs would have the advantage if their lead held. Bucketfoot Al Simmons led off the bottom of the 7th inning with a solo shot that put the first A's run on the board. Jimmy Fox followed that up with a single, and that brought Bing Miller to the plate. Miller hit a lazy fly ball to center field, but the sun at Shibe Park at that point in the day was like a laser beam in the eyes of outfielder Hack Wilson. He lost it in the bright sunshine, and it fell in for another single. Singles by Jimmy Dykes and Joe Boley scored a couple more runs, and it was now an 8-3 game. When light-hitting Max Bishop plated another run with a single, Cubs manager Joe McCarthy had seen enough, and he took out the tiring and frustrated Root for the left-handed Art Neff. The A's sent Mule Haas to the plate with men on first and third. Haas sent the first Neff offering to center right at Hack Wilson again. Wilson had put on sunglasses in an effort to see the ball better, but neither those shades nor his short-filled cap were any help against the sun. And he lost the track of Haas's shot in the blinding rays, and the ball sailed over his head and rolled to the wall. The runners on first and third scored easily. Haas motored around the bases and slid into home just ahead of the relayed throw for the inside-the-park home run. The mammoth Cubs lead had now been cut to 1, and they were shaken by the run explosion. If Wilson had been able to see the ball, well, those 2 would have certainly been caught, and the Cubs would have escaped with minimal damage. But now the wheels had fallen off, and things got worse. More singles, more pitching changes, and by the time the Cubs finally recorded 3 outs, the A's had scored 10 runs in the bottom of the 7th to take a 10-8 lead, and that's the way the game ended. Instead of the series being tied, Philadelphia now held a commanding 3-1 lead. After the game, McCarthy lamented, "You can't beat the sun, can you? That poor kid simply lost the ball in it, and he didn't put the sun there, did he?" Amazingly, the Athletics rallied to score 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning to beat Chicago 2 days later to win the 1929 World Series. On this day in 1997, Minnesota Vikings quarterback Brad Johnson accomplished something that had never happened in the NFL. The Vikes were hosting the Carolina Panthers, and the score was tied at 7 apiece at the start of the 4th quarter. Minnesota had a 3rd and goal from the Panthers' 3-yard line, and then this happened.
3rd and goal. Johnson pulls it down. Johnson trying to get in there. Johnson for the end zone. Touchdown! That ball is batted. It was thrown one time and then batted down. I thought I saw him bat that thing, but I thought it was a pump fake. He caught the ball, and then he's looking for somebody downfield again, and he takes it into his own hands and finds the end zone. When all your receivers are covered, you're your own receiver. That is Johnson to Johnson for the touchdown.
Brad Johnson became the first NFL quarterback to throw a touchdown pass to himself. Marcus Mariota became the second quarterback to do that in a playoff game in 2018. On this day in 1979, Magic Johnson made his NBA debut. It went well, but the rookie got a little bit overzealous after the game It was the opening of the NBA season, and the Los Angeles Lakers started out on the road against the San Diego Clippers. Earvin Magic Johnson was eager to make his debut. He'd been the number 1 pick in the 1979 draft after winning the NCAA championship back in March. He was in the starting lineup and just did what Magic always seemed to do his entire career. Get out on the fast break, find the open man, mix in a little razzle with the dazzle, and then deliver a pinpoint pass for a bucket or score it himself. Magic finished the night with 26 points, but the game ended with some dramatics. World B. Free was on fire for the Clippers, scoring 46 points with his last bucket coming with under 10 seconds left to put the Clippers up by 1. That set up the final play, and here's Brent Musburger calling the action on this night for CBS.
Ford sends it to Kareem. Skyhook up and good. Lakers win. Score it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has given the Los Angeles Lakers a victory, and Magic Johnson is out there celebrating like they just won the NCAA championship.
And yeah, Magic got a little excited. His teammates called him Buck, as in young Buck, and he was hugging Kareem so hard that he had to tell the rookie, "Hey, Buck, quit choking me. We got 81 more games to go." But it could not quell the enthusiasm of Magic. He continued to play with that joy every night. Now, he didn't exactly celebrate every win like that from that point on, but he was always having some fun. On the other side of the country, the other player the league was excited about, Larry Bird, was making his debut in Boston. Bird had actually been selected in the 1978 NBA draft, but decided to go back to Indiana State for his senior year. The Celtics kept his rights for a full 365 days, and thankfully for Boston fans, General Manager Red Auerbach saw the value of the kid and paid him more money than he'd ever paid a rookie on the final day before Bird would then go back into the draft. The Celtics hosted the Houston Rockets on this day, and Bird had a little less conspicuous start to his NBA career than Magic did. It wasn't bad. He scored 14 points on 6 of 12 shooting, and the Celtics had balanced scoring with 8 guys in double figures. Now, this night in Boston is actually known for something completely different. The NBA had just installed the three-point shot. Boston's Chris Ford is the answer to the trivia question, who made the first three-point basket in the NBA? Hey, real quick, you've heard me talk a lot about the Sterling Soap Company over the past few months, and if you haven't tried out their soaps, I get it. It's not easy changing up your routine. But let me just say, if you give them a try, I'm nearly 100% certain you will have zero regrets. They carry not only bar soap, but shave soap, liquid body soap, body lotions, beard balm, lip balm, and a lot more. Plus, there are myriad scents to choose from. Their products are made with natural ingredients and scented oils, and they are committed to being environmentally conscious. And I always get a handwritten note on my packing slip, so I know it's been checked before shipping, and it's a nice little human touch in a world that seems to be going away from that. Give Sterling Soap a try today at sterlingsoap.com. On this day in 1989, it was the Herschel Walker trade, and depending on your perspective, this was either the best trade or the worst trade in NFL history. But it certainly changed the trajectory of one of the teams involved. In 1989, Herschel Walker was a Dallas Cowboy, and the Dallas Cowboys were a really, really bad team. They'd finished the 88 season with a 3-13 record, which led to the firing of Tom Landry. At this point in the 89 season, they were 0-5 under new head coach Jimmy Johnson and new GM and owner Jerry Jones. The season was pretty much a lost cause, so they needed to make a change, and they decided to put their best player, Herschel Walker, on the market. Several teams were interested, and he nearly wound up with the Cleveland Browns. But it was the Minnesota Vikings that won out for Walker's services. The Vikes saw Walker as the key piece to making a Super Bowl run after 2 close calls in previous years. The Cowboys first gave Herschel $1.25 million to go, calling it an exit bonus. Then the Cowboys packaged Walker and 3 draft picks. Well, it actually turned out to be 4 draft picks because one of the Vikings players in the initial trade didn't want to go to the pitiful Cowboys. So the Cowboys shipped him to San Diego in exchange for a 5th-round draft pick, which they gave to Minnesota. The Cowboys received 4 players: linebackers Jesse Solomon and David Howard, defensive back Isaac Holt, and defensive end Alex Stewart, plus 3 draft picks in the upcoming draft. Johnson was not really interested in the players he got in the deal. He wanted the draft picks, and there was also a caveat in the trade. If the Cowboys cut any of the 4 players, they would get compensatory draft picks from the Vikings, which is what he eventually did, receiving 5 picks from Minnesota because of it. So in essence, it was Herschel for 8 draft picks, and it drained what Minnesota could do in the next 3 drafts. 3 of the players they were able to draft with those picks turned out to be Emmitt Smith, Russell Maryland, and Darren Woodson. Of course, if you have followed the NFL for the past 35 or 40 years, you know how this turned out. The Cowboys turned their franchise around and they won 3 Super Bowls in the 90s, while the Minnesota Vikings have still never won a Super Bowl. Walker only spent 2.5 years in Minnesota before being shipped off to Philadelphia. And on this day in 2019, Eliud Kipchoge pushed the boundaries of what is humanly possible. Kipchoge was in Vienna, Austria to run in a special event just for him. He was already the world record holder in the marathon, setting a blistering pace at the Berlin Marathon in 2016 with a winning time of 2 hours, 1 minute, 39 seconds. But this, again, was a special event, set up just for him to run it. It was the Ineos 159 Challenge. The weather was perfect, sub 50 degrees to start under overcast skies. He had 7 pace runners with him. In addition, there was a pace car set up in front that projected a laser grid down on the road to give him visual reference to the pace required to break the 2-hour barrier. And Kipchoge had laced up the controversial Nike Alpha Flies to run the distance. So, not a normal race by any stretch, and no matter the time, this would not be considered the world record marathon time due to all the special circumstances. But Kipchoge still had to run at a 13.2 mile per hour pace to cover the distance in less than 2 hours. And he did, crossing the line in 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 40 seconds to become the first man to ever run 26.2 miles in under 2 hours. And it's time for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. In the movie Candyman, actor Tony Todd had to fill his mouth with actual bees during the movie's trademark scene, and he got stung several times because of it. That's all I've got for you today. I'll be back tomorrow with another edition of This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.